Good morning. It is a beautiful day here in North Carolina. It is overcast, it is winter time, and I'm going to talk about 4 things that can make you a better wildlife photographer. And if you stick to the end, I'll give you an extra one. The number one thing that you can do to turn your photos from just good to great is to get down to eye level with the animal. When you're at eye level with the animal, you look like you're in a much more intimate photo. If you're standing up and taking pictures of birds in this field here, the whole field becomes in focus. But if you're at eye level, the foreground and the background becomes out of focus and the bird becomes much more dramatic. This is an example of me taking a photo of some sandpipers on a beach. If I'm standing up and taking the pictures, they are okay. They're pictures, they're just what they are. But if you get down low, lay down on the beach and take a picture of a bird coming straight at you, this image becomes much more dramatic. It becomes a much more impressive image, and just simply getting down to the eye level of these animals can dramatically improve your photography. It just started raining. Tip number 2, it's to take control of this camera. I shoot in Aperture Priority. When I'm photographing in a situation like this, when I'm photographing birds, I open the aperture all the way. I manually control the ISO so that I have a knob here. I adjust the knob so that I can get a shutter speed in a situation like this of 1,000 of a second. When I increase the ISO, the camera increases the shutter speed. When I decrease the ISO, it decreases the shutter speed, and the aperture stays the same because I manually set it. Now, if I'm photographing flying birds, I want a much faster shutter speed. So I will again close my aperture all the way, but I may increase my ISO a lot more so that I can get a shutter speed of 2 or 3,000 of a second. Now, if I'm photographing landscapes, I want a much deeper field of focus. So I might shoot at an aperture of 15, 13, something like that. And I want a very clear image, so I want a very low ISO. So that may give me a shutter speed of 10 seconds. Put my camera on a tripod, hit the shutter button, and 10 seconds later my image is there. But by taking control like this, you can determine what the image looks like when you take it, and you're not letting the camera decide what the image is if you're shooting it automatic. So tip number 2 is to shoot an Aperture Priority. Well, if you talked to me 7, 8 years ago, I would have said to you the most important thing to focus on is the eye. That's all that has to be in focus on the bird. And I'm here to tell you that that's not always true. It's important that the eye is in focus, but it's also important that other parts of the animal are in focus. Or if you're taking landscape photography, you want huge things to be in focus. So it's important to know what to focus on. Now, one of the examples that I always give is if you're photographing large animals, such as buffaloes in Yellowstone National Park, or if you're in Africa photographing megafauna like elephants or giraffes or anything like that. Sometimes if you focus just on the eye and you're shooting a very shallow field of focus or very open your aperture all the way, the other part of the animal may be out of focus. It's very important that the entire animal is in focus, or most of the animals in focus. And if you're in a situation like that, you have to be aware of what to focus on. Sometimes you want to focus on the front leg of the animal instead of the eye. Or if you're shooting a bird and he's kind of quartering away from you, you may want to focus on his rump and not his head. All these things are important to get that image that you see in your mind when you're taking the picture. So knowing what to focus on is a very important tip. I had to come inside because it continued to rain, so here's what we're inside. Tip number 4 is cropping. I think something as wildlife photographers, especially new wildlife photographers, overcrop. Instead of telling a story, you end up with a portrait of a bird. As you see in this picture here, we have a Carolina flower being fed on by a hummingbird here. And this is a picture that's telling a story. When somebody looks at this image here, they can see a story that's going on. Instead of just looking at it and saying, oh, it's a nice picture of a bird, they can actually see a story going on there. They can see the colors behind it. They're being drawn into the image. And as a wildlife photographer, that's what you want to do. That's what separates good photographers from great photographers, is being able to tell a story with your photography. And cropping is a great way to do this. It's a skill that has to be learned. You have to adjust things and make decisions based on what you see in the image. But you want to be able to tell a story. And I think that's a big thing that a lot of people make mistakes, and that's why you don't see good photographers don't go to great photographers, is because of that. And as I said at the beginning of the video, I'm going to offer a bonus tip, and that's to experiment. Step outside of your comfort zone. Use different lenses. Use different perspectives. Try to get higher, get lower. Try to move around more. If you see an animal and instead of moving down so that the sun is to your back, move the other way so that the sun is so you get the bird backlit. Try to experiment as pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. I myself have done this a lot, and whenever I do it, I seem to learn something and become a little bit better photographer. You know, when you're editing photos, you see something on Lightroom or whatever software you're using to edit, you're not sure what that knob does. Turn that knob, see what happens. Experiment, push yourself out of the comfort zone. I think that's one of the things that as photographers, to become a better photographer, is you have to learn from your mistakes. And the only way you can learn from your mistakes is make mistakes. So I'm hoping you got something out of this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to this channel because that really helps us in the YouTube world. Become a Patreon supporter. Your support allows us to keep doing this. My name is Sean Leahy, and I want to thank you for watching.